let me just say right now, if you're interested in doing booktube, not to necessarily become famous, just as like a passion, a hobby, just for fun, just for yourself, you don't need fancy equipment. I've been doing booktube for almost 2 years now, and currently I am sitting in bed, and my tripod is a lamp on top of my nightstand, and on top of my lampshade is a book, which is Ophelia After All, which I'm really looking forward to reading. And on top of Ophelia After All is my little mini tripod that's about an inch tall. And yeah, that is my setup. What you do need is patience, because every time I have to edit a video I make in my apartment where I have like traffic noises in the background, I cannot even begin to describe the rage I feel. I don't know why. It just angers me so much. Like, be quiet, Chicago. Anyways, y'all should make mug cakes for Valentine's Day for yourselves, because I've been living off of these for the past probably week now. It's really sad. This is, yeah. Well, on to the video. Hello everyone, happy Valentine's Day. My name is Elise and I am here with book recommendations once again. I know Valentine's Day is probably going to have a lot of very Valentine's-y, romance-y kind of recommendations out there, so this is a video for anyone who doesn't want any super romancy Valentine's Day books. I think this video is kind of inspired by the fact that I realized I thought I read romances, but I realized I kind of don't. Like, you know, back in the day, any single book that had some sort of relationship in it, like any two characters, like a main character and someone else, if they were interested in each other, I just labeled it as a romance. But, you know, as the years have gone by, I realized romance is its own separate genre. You can have books that have romance in it that are not romances, and I used to think romance was my favorite genre because I read a lot of books that had romantic relationships in them, but they weren't necessarily romances. And as I've read actual romances, I realized romance is not my genre. I much prefer books that have romance in them, but there's some other kind of deeper meaning in there. Not to say that romances can't have deeper meanings, but usually the books that I like are about something that is not romance. Romance is definitely not the central plot within those books. So this video, it's gonna be that. These are books that I call not quite romances. They all involve some kind of relationship, or that doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic relationship, some kind of bond between two people that is significant to the story, but not necessarily the entirety of the story. So if you're looking for something that is special and it's about people connecting, but it's not necessarily what you would typically define as a romance, these are some great recommendations for you. So the first book I'm going to start with is a book that I just recently finished, maybe like a week or two ago, and I really have not been able to read anything else since finishing it because it was just so good and it really stuck with me. I was not expecting to like it that much. I actually wasn't even really planning on reading it. It wasn't something on my TBR. I had just been looking for an audiobook on Libby one night, as one does, and I downloaded it because the cover had very pretty colors on it, and you know what? I like pretty colors. And yeah, I started at like 11 p.m. and then I just did not sleep because it was so good and I wanted to finish it. It is called The Mirror Season, and this is a YA fiction book. It's contemporary fiction, but it's also pretty magical realism heavy, and oh, it's heavy, y'all. It is about a girl who is the victim of sexual assault, and the book is about her coping with that, but the other element of it was there was another boy who was assaulted at this party that she was assaulted at. So in a way, they share this bond, except the main character remembers the assault, and the boy who was the other victim does not remember it. This was a very hard-hitting book in a very quiet way. It's one of those books where it's subtle in its nature, but the writing is so beautiful, and I really, really loved the characters. The book is, I want to be careful with my wording here. It's a very angry, obviously, book. There's a lot of emotion explored, but the way the writing is, it's a really good blend of kind of like soft scenes and, you know, bubbling anger, not bubbly like happy, like bubbling yeah, anger. It's just, I was so taken by surprise. I was not expecting this to be so wonderful, and I really, really, really loved the relationship between the two characters that both shared this trauma. This is obviously, hence the title of this video, a not quite romance, because even though there are romantic elements to this book, it is very much at the center about sexual assault and autonomy and being believed. And sorry, I'm like doing like aggressive fists down here. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. If you are okay with reading a book about sexual assault, please pick this one up. I am so glad that it had a pretty color or pretty cover that attracted me, because I don't think I would have read it otherwise. But yes, it is so wonderful. 5 stars from me, and I've just been waiting to find a book that I enjoyed just as much as this one. I have another book that's quite sad, but in a totally different way. So my first book was pretty sad because it's about sexual assault, but you know, there's a lot of tender, soft moments. I mean, I really love the tenderness in the Mirror season. This other book that I'm about to mention destroyed me in a totally different way. It's called A Matter of Death and Life, and it's like not exactly supposed to be sad, but it's so sad. It is a nonfiction book. It's a memoir written by 2 people, and they are both married or were married, and they have alternating point of views in it. And it's just like, oh my god, it's just so sad even just trying to describe it. So it's a memoir between this couple, right? This married couple, as they're dying. Like, they're old, right? And they're approaching death, and their way of coping with it is to write a memoir on a matter of death and life. I mean, I think out of like all the books I've read in 2022 so far, I've read like 35. This book really just got to me. Actually, I think I read it in 2021, not 2022, whatever. But I'm still thinking about it. I don't even, this book gave me, like, I had a little mini crisis after it. But it is just so sad, y'all. Because like, it's nonfiction, it's a memoir. These are real people coming to terms with the end of life and like the end of their marriage. And you want to know something even more sadder? This is not a spoiler because these are like real people. One of the the wife dies mid-memoir, like in the middle of writing the book. She's like, yeah, I'm gone now. So then the other half of the book is just the husband kind of grieving and like coping with that. Oh, it's so sad. But anyways, I'm putting it in this video because it is at its heart about love and romance and relationships, like long-term relationships. I'm pretty sure the 2 people met when they were like teens. I don't remember. Something really young, and they die. Well, one of them dies in their like 70s or 80s. But it's just such a beautiful book, but it's so sad. Yeah. So if you want to be broken, I would recommend A Matter of Death and Life. My camera ran out of storage mid-filming, so that's really unfortunate, so I hope I can finish this video. But the next book on this list is The Other Side of Perfect. This is another YA contemporary book, and I really love this genre because it's so good for exploring emotions. But this is another book that's super angry and dealing with pretty negative emotions. It is about a girl who used to be a dancer, very competitive, and then she goes through an accident where her leg cannot be danceable anymore. That was such a bad description. But yeah, she's no longer able to dance and has to find other ways to spend her time and find other passions, because her whole life is just turned into a different direction because she can no longer dance. And it's such a angry book that deals with emotions that aren't often fully explored in books because sometimes they're just so ugly. There's a lot of jealousy and rage and like not wanting other people to succeed because you want the best for yourself, and it's just such a relatable book. That sounds so bad, but it's so good. And the not exactly a romance part of this book, the relationship between the main character and the other person that comes along is so sweet. It's so wonderful, but it's also kind of subtle, so it's not like the main point of the book, but it's just like so nicely timed. I love it so much. This book was wonderful. I mean, I read it in like one sitting. I annotated a copy for my friend. Hi Maury, if you're there. But yeah, it's so wonderful. It's like deep and kind of like ugly angry, but in the best way possible because it's relatable and explores things that sometimes are not always fun to put on paper. Hello, my name is Elise, and I love my angsty, angry YA contemporaries because the next book is another angsty, angry YA contemporary. It is called Summer Bird Blue. I read this maybe a year or two ago, and it is also just so good and so angry, and I just love all the emotions explored. It's about a girl who is currently grieving. I think, oh my gosh, I forgot. I think it's her sister. Yeah, it's her sister who dies, and she was really close to her sister. But the problem was her mom was kind of, the sister was the mom's favorite. So there's a lot of, feelings of jealousy and just not knowing how to deal with the grief of that for the main character. So she is sent away from her mom to live with an aunt or something like that because her mom is grieving in her own way and they're just not getting along. So there's a lot of heavy stuff here, and there is not exactly a romance relationship here. It's honestly not even explicitly romantic. The character is on the A spectrum if you're looking for representation like that. But yeah, if you want really beautiful writing, lots of anger and like confusing, stressful emotions, and also really, really lovely side characters, this book is so good. There's also like a old man who's kind of grumpy, and we love a good old grumpy man character. This book is so great. I want to reread it so bad, but I feel like it'll break me. All these books are kind of sad. I'm sorry. The point of this video wasn't books that aren't romances, instead books that will make you cry, but that's what it's turning into. Oh my gosh, I just looked at my list. I'm so sorry, y'all. This video was not supposed to be, I hope you all cry and have horrible things happen to you on Valentine's Day. But that's, oops. Because my next book is about death again, and I'm sorry. This is another angry, angsty YA contemporary book. I'm sorry. This one deals with death too. Oops. And it's called Who I Was With Her. This is a YA sapphic book, and it's not a romance because the main character's girl. Ooh. Sorry. I get distracted by the honking. But the main character's girlfriend ends up dying right in the beginning of the book, but they were never out. No one really knew they were dating, so there's a lot of grieving because she's dead, but also because no one knows that she's grieving and what this girl meant to her. So there's a lot of sadness in here. Obviously the not exactly a romance part is the fact that this was about a romantic relationship, but there's a lot of messiness and making mistakes and not really knowing how to grieve in a healthy way, and it's just such a great depiction of falling apart. But yeah, if you like books like that are just heavy and kind of quiet but like in a good way, then this is a really, really heartbreaking but beautiful one. And then for my last book, I promise we are ending on a slightly more uplifting note because yeah. But this is a poetry collection, and poetry already isn't always my favorite, and especially poems that have to deal with post-breakups. I get a little iffy with those. Sometimes I feel bad, but sometimes they sound like bad notes app poetry, you know what I'm talking about. But I was surprised. This book was actually really good. If I didn't already mention the title, which I think I didn't, it's called The Strength in Our Stars, and it's a poetry collection which you can interpret as about post-breakup feelings and overcoming that. And I really, really enjoyed it. Sometimes I feel like poetry that has to deal with breakups can be a bit generic, but this one was really good. I thought the poems were strangely relatable, and I really, really loved the message. There's a lot of finding, strength when you are very sad at a low point, and I really enjoyed it. It was very sweet, and I think it is suitable for anyone, regardless of where you are in your relationships in life. So definitely check that one out if you're looking for something that's, takes a sad topic but makes it uplifting. Anyway, that is my list of books that are not quite romances but still deal with important relationships. Hope you all enjoyed and have a great Valentine's Day. Like I said, go make yourself a mug cake because I've been living off of them. Read those books because they are lovely, or don't read those books because sometimes you don't want to cry in life, and those are all sad books. I'm sorry, that was so not intentional. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Bye. Bye bye.